Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news and notes mashup video today, and quite a packed edition. Got a fight with Lucas Browne and MAHMOUD CHARR, random fight. That will be later in the video, and some other results over the weekend and a few thoughts. But we'll start first. Deontay Wilder's camp, it is gunning for the Anthony Joshua fight. So we'll go through these comments from Wilder's co-manager Shelly Finkel and then a few thoughts, because it's deja vu. I mean, how realistic really is this, especially when Finkel's talking about Deontay Wilder travelling, which we haven't seen any inclination in recent years when they've been negotiating. But perhaps they realise that a Joshua fight and the money that comes with it could disappear if Joshua, takes another loss, or Wilder for that matter. There's still value in this fight if they can actually make it. But can they? So Shelly Finkel, talking to Phil J from World Boxing News, says Deontay is willing to fight Anthony Joshua next. We would take the fight in the UK or the Middle East, and we will do it next. We have the WBC eliminator with Ruiz, and we will do that. But we want the Joshua fight. Eddie Hearn said he contacted me in August, but we had the Helenius fight. We announced it that month and said we won't talk to anyone until after the Helenius fight. Eddie knew this, but he still said he'd contacted us. Now we're willing to make a deal for Joshua next. Deontay Wilder wants the fight next. We've been trying since 2017 to get the Joshua fight. Let's make a deal and do the fight. The fans want to see it, so why not? And of Ruiz, remembering that Ruiz and Wilder have an ordered WBC final eliminator, the Ruiz fight is there, and we will do it if we can't get Joshua. But even if Deontay beats Ruiz, we are still willing to fight Joshua. We're worried that he might want another tune-up if he fights Whyte and doesn't look good, so we should go straight into that fight next. We understand Eddie could want the Whyte fight, but the fans would like to see Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, and we are willing to do it. Let's make a deal. Shelly Finkel talking to World Boxing News. Okay, so what do I make of this? It certainly is a case that this is a fight we've been wanting for years as heavyweight boxing fans. And it's been marinated far too long, almost to the point where the meat may have gone rotten. Both these guys were once undefeated. It could have been for undisputed. Now we're talking about a fight where there's going to be no belts on the line. Joshua's picked up 3 losses, Wilder 2 in the ensuing years since failed negotiations. There was some brief negotiations in 2017, but ultimately Joshua went with the Joseph Parker fight in early 2018. The undisputed negotiations, acrimonious as they were, and since then there's been talk of a fight, but it always feels like it's just out of reach. And now Deontay Wilder, who's been ordered to face Andy Ruiz Jr., and that's an in-house fight to make. There's no TV issues, no promotional issues, but they're willing to sort of kick that to the curb to try to make a fight with DAZN where Anthony Joshua is exclusively now, worldwide, including the United States. Doesn't really feel like it's viable to me, at least on just some of the broadcasting issues. Is DAZN going to share a slice of the pie? I don't know. I mean, there's just so much going on and so much pettiness, and just in general, it's never felt like it's really been that close. And just saying this now, it doesn't really mean anything. Eddie Hearn said it a few months ago. Look, we put an offer out to Wilder, but nothing happened, and nothing may happen now. I totally want the fight, and I still am very intrigued to see the matchup. Is Joshua going to be able to combat the power and sort of awkwardness, the speed of Deontay Wilder? And then you've got Joshua, who's a big puncher, who potentially could put a dent in Wilder. So, it's a fight we've always wanted to see, but I'm just not convinced. Why now? Especially given that a fight that's, I'm sort of expecting that we got this chatter now, and then all of a sudden next month, a fight with Ruiz is confirmed. Ruiz, meanwhile, he's on social media in response to the news, sort of quizzical. And I guess he might be, because it's been ordered by the WBC. WBC has done a lot for Deontay Wilder. After he lost to Tyson Fury the first and the second time, he has maintained his very high place in the WBC rankings, has been afforded this opportunity for a semi-final eliminator and now a final eliminator. They've done that for him, so it'd be a smack in the face, hurting the relationship with the sanctioning body that's effectively bent over backwards to continue to put him in line for another shot at their belts. And Andy Ruiz Jr. probably sitting there going, this is kind of one of the biggest fights that we can make within our stable of any division, within, their PBC banner. And you're willing to try to walk away to fight, to pursue a fight that has got so many question marks about how it could get made. And I'm sure there's going to be some people saying if there's a will, they can make the fight, all this sort of stuff, they can share whatever pay-per-view they would do. In this day and age, and the way that DAZN's been struggling, are you sure that they want to give some crumbs to PBC? Or is this an admission from PBC that they need some crumbs from DAZN because there is some financial, struggling and stress at the moment for their organization? I mean, it probably would bring in some dollars that would be very welcome. But is Eddie Hearn, who's been kind of flagging in the United States, going to be looking to do PBC a favor? I highly doubt it, because they haven't done him any favours. So I think pettiness will carry the day here. Jermaine Franklin, he's still unhappy and taken his grievance about the result against Dillian Whyte, and he says, I was robbed. Total BS decision, and then adding Matchroom DAZN Salita Promotions. And I would ask this question because it sort of seems to be whenever there's a close and competitive fight, which I think this fight definitely falls into, automatically it's classed as a robbery. I think you can make a case either way. There were swing rounds. It was close, competitive action, a lot of rounds, and some rounds, there wasn't much to split the rounds. So I can see, and as I said in my post-fight review, you could have scorecards that are going to look a little different, and they did. Even the judges amongst themselves saw things very different. But was it a robbery? Is that term very much overused, or does Jermaine Franklin have an actual gripe here that he was robbed so badly? See, the thing is, I don't think this was some sort of 8-4 type of fight for Franklin. 7-5 to him or 7-5 to Dillian Whyte, draw, I think those are all reasonable. I think 116-112's a bit wide, but Dillian Whyte, I think you can make a case for him, and as some people have pointed out, the fact that Jermaine Franklin was held up by the ropes in the last round was he also denied a point being taken from Franklin, because potentially it could have been and should have been a knockdown. I mean, you've got to ask these questions, but I think robbery is certainly an overused term, but he did credit himself well. He put in a good performance, better than many expected. And just on Dillian Whyte, Michael Hunter, top heavyweight contender, has said, and this is on Twitter, I'm stopping Dillian Whyte. Now moving to one of the strangest and most random fights that looks to be made for 2022 at short notice as well, bearing in mind we're almost at the end of November, and this fight between MAHMOUD CHARR and Lucas Browne has been announced for the 17th of December, and this is going to be in Dubai. So when this came out from MAHMOUD CHARR, I'd only just finished a video for Patreon, and I was sort of musing about Bakhodir, Jalolov and potential fights for him in 2023, because Browne is currently ranked in the WBA at number 10, and that could be a fight that Lou DiBella may want to make now that he's signed Lucas Browne. Still could be, but you've got this fight between Browne and Char. I don't really think many people would have seen this coming, but you've actually had Browne paired with a number of fighters for potential fights in the past couple of years, the pandemic and more recently. Even earlier this year, it was announced that he was to face Jarrell Miller. Never went through, don't really know the circumstances of why. But Char and Browne, so random. Also in Dubai, in the promotional poster, it says the Arab King returns to UAE. 12 rounds on 17th December, heavyweight title fight. What heavyweight title is a question, because MAHMOUD CHARR does not have a belt. He was stripped of his regular title by the WBA when he couldn't come to basically make the fight for a second time in a row come together with Trevor Bryan. Don King certainly was partially behind that, but he was stripped of his status. He's not the champion in recess, and he says here, Together with Iconic Promotions, I've laid the foundation. I will position myself again in all 4 major boxing world federations, WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF. I will give my fans what they deserve, prove my critics wrong, and make it impossible for my potential opponents to make any excuses. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, the time for excuses is over. Together with Iconic Promotions Dubai, I will write boxing history. The Arab King is far from being satisfied. The Arab King will take the throne again. Well, I'm sorry, Mahmoud Charr, but the only throne you will be returning to is the toilet. That sort of throne room. Mahmoud Charr is not good. He's been inactive, he was never really good to begin with, and in his opponent, Lucas Browne, he actually faces a guy who could actually knock him out. So this has got circus show written all over it. Browne at 43 proved against Junior Fa he can still pop, and if Mahmoud Charr's not careful, he's going to end up sort of on the seat of his pants. We saw against Christopher Lovejoy, yeah, sure, he can bang out some guys at a lower level. Is Browne better than Lovejoy? Well, you'd probably think so based on recent performances. But Browne himself is very chinny, so Charr could knock him out. I'm very interested in this fight because, like I say, it's kind of got circus written all over it. I wasn't actually going to report on it until I saw Lucas Browne talk about it, because I was like, what? Because it kind of does look like it's been homemade sort of on someone's sort of, software. It's not exactly the slickest promo poster. Browne saying on his social media, almost time, Big Daddy Boxing, and then a whole bunch of hashtags, confirming that he's going to be facing Mahmoud Charr. So he must be getting well paid for this, because at relatively short notice, and he actually has been sort of training away and keeping himself in decent condition for Browne. So obviously things were in the works and it's now been confirmed, and even though it's relatively short notice, he's probably not going to be caught too short in terms of the conditioning, because he has been keeping in better condition. But, what's he got left? 43. We've seen some pretty so-so performances in recent years from Browne. That Junior Fa performance did remind people he's still got power. And Mahmoud Charr's actually just not very good. So, what is it? 60-40 Charr, 50-50. I kind of think this is competitive. Both these guys are far removed from their prime, and Charr's prime was never really that good anyway. In terms of someone who is good and coming through the ranks, Bakhodir Jalolov, the Uzbek who's faced Curtis Harper, and we're moving into some of the results. So he's beaten Harper inside 4 rounds. This was on the Zepeda and Pro Grey undercard. So I saw patches of the fight, but my reception for Spark Sport in New Zealand, there's the big story. I don't know what happened. It just kept cutting out. Also, you've got Thomas Carty. He had a win advancing to 4-0. That was on the Dillian Whyte and Jermaine Franklin undercard. Faced the journeyman Pavlo Krylenko. So it was kind of what you expected. Carty doesn't seem to have a huge pop. Should have maybe done a little bit better with Krylenko, who actually started to gain a little bit of confidence in there. Moving on, you've also got Jeamie Tshikeva, who on the Sky and Boxer card, he's picked up another win in his early career. Mihai Nistor in Romania, he's got a win as well. And this is against the journeyman, and Nistor, this is from the weigh-in, doesn't look in the best of shape, but he's talking about that he is making a comeback, and that people who attended the press conference know where he's headed, which is unclear. And rounding out this heavyweight news and notes mashup video, so the Australian heavyweight Toese Vousiutu, he is recovering in hospital following eye surgery, and he says that he'll be back hustling. I got a body to collect. So he's a fun fighter to watch. Don't know how far he's really going, but certainly entertaining nonetheless. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.